guys, it's Ivy. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. I read an incredible amount of books in the month of September, and I also read a lot of big books, so I'm really excited to talk about them because a lot of them were favorites and they were rereads. The first book I read is I Do Not Trust You, and this is by Laura J. Burns and Melinda Metz, and I was sent this by the publisher to read and review. This book is about a girl who believes her father is dead, and she comes to find out that he's not, and it's because of this guy who randomly shows up to visit her and tell her, like, you're being lied to, your father is still alive. And she has this map. Everybody is kind of like looking for this map, and it takes her on this adventure. There is religion and ancient cults and all kinds of things in this book. It's a book I recommend if you're a Colleen Hoover fan. I think it was interesting, and I think the plot kind of moved along quickly. I think I Do Not Trust You is a good book for people who are fans of ancient religions and cults and missing tombstones and artifacts and stuff like that. Next book I read is Serafina and the Splintered Heart by Robert Beatty, and this is the third in the series, and this is a middle grade book, and I really enjoy this series. I think if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you will like it. It is about a girl named Serafina, and she lives in the basement of this house with her father, and this house is like a huge like estate. This book is told like way like in the early like 1900s or 1800s or something. She can see in the dark, she can see at night, and this mysterious guy shows up in a cloak. He starts stealing children, and so she takes it upon herself to find the children and get them back from the man in the cloak. And the first book in the series is Serafina and the Black Cloak, and I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a very solid series. I enjoyed my time reading it. It was just a lot of fun and lightweight middle grade series. The next book that I read is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody, and I don't know what to say about this because I'm beginning to think that I don't enjoy Amanda Foody's books that much. They're just kind of like mediocre for me. Like, they don't keep me engaged. Like, the plot always sounds so intense, and I always think, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good, and then I'm just like, meh. Like, it was the same thing of Daughter and the Burning City for me. This book is about Anne, and she goes to the City of Sin to find her mother, and there's gambling and drinking and all kinds of stuff that you can imagine that happens in the City of Sin. I might continue on with the series, although I kind of doubt that I will, because like I said, it was just kind of like a read for me. I did really have high hopes for this, and I wish I would have enjoyed it a lot more than I actually did. The next 2 books that I read were Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, both by the lovely Sarah J. Maas, and of course I gave these 5 out of 5 stars. This is my like 3rd time reading these, and it's my favorite series of all time. Selena Sardouthian is a badass, a total badass. She is an assassin, and in the first book she is in the salt mines of Endovier, and the crown prince goes there and asks her to be his champion in his Father the King's competition. And if she wins this competition, she will serve the king for 3 years, or maybe 3 or 4 years. They like bargain about it back and forth, and then she will have her freedom. So she decides that she's going to do this because it's either stay in the slave mines or go and do this competition. So she goes with the crown prince back to the glass castle, and while she is there, she starts to encounter demons and creatures and all kinds of crazy things, and the series just gets so intense the more it goes on, and I love it. I gave both of these 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Darkest Corners by Kara Thomas, and I listened to this on audiobook, and I highly recommend it. I could not stop thinking about this book when I wasn't reading it. All I wanted to do was finish it. This book is about Tessa. At the beginning of the story, Tessa has to go back home. I think it's in Pennsylvania because her father is in prison and he is dying. She gets there and she realizes that her older sister came to visit her father, only she used a different name, and she recognizes the handwriting, so she wants to find her sister. When she was a little girl, her mother like left her at this gas station, so she was sent to live with her grandma, and a lot of bad stuff happened to her when she was a child, and now she's a teenager and she's back in her hometown. a lot of mysterious things start unfolding. You realize that Tessa and her friend Callie were there when Callie's cousin got murdered, and while Tessa is at the prison to visit her father, she sees the lawyer there visiting the guy that they convicted for the murder of Callie's cousin, and she starts to question whether that guy is really guilty or not, if they wrongly accused him. And this story just unfolds in such a crazy, intense way. I didn't see any of the plot twists coming whatsoever. It's now one of my favorite books of all time, and the ending is just insane and out of this world, and definitely a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I highly recommend picking this one up, especially this fall, because it's super creepy and atmospheric. I really love this book. Then I read The X-Files, Agent of Chaos by Cami Garcia, and this book is about Fox Mulder when he is a teenager, and is about how he gets interested in aliens and being a detective and all that stuff, and it is really good. The audiobook was super amazing. I highly recommend it. Fox Mulder's sister was taken away and they never know what happened to her. Now he's in this town with his dad, and people are starting to go missing, and they're little kids, and then they show up like 8 days later and they're murdered, and it looks like a huge cult is doing it, and he gets really invested in the things that are happening, and he wants to figure it out for himself because he feels like it might be connected to his sister. This book was so good. I could not stop listening to it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really recommend it if you're an X-Files fan, and even if you're not, I think you'll still enjoy this because the story moves along really quickly and it's really entertaining. Then I read Cradle and All by James Patterson, and this book is hard to discuss because while I enjoyed like the premise of it and some of the story, I really didn't enjoy the whole thing, and it's pretty short, and I think it could have been shorter. The ending was entertaining. I really enjoyed the ending. However, it's just a lot of like religious talk, and I really didn't enjoy that much. This book is about 2 girls who become pregnant, and they are both virgins, and one of them is said to carry the child that will save them, and then the other one is said to be carrying the child that will destruct them. And you kind of try to figure out which is which, and it has a huge plot twist at the end, which that was my favorite part. Obviously, I really enjoyed that, but I ended up giving this a maybe like a 2.75, maybe a 3 if I'm feeling generous. Like I said, I really enjoyed the premise. The execution just wasn't so much for me. Like, I wasn't engaged in the story as much as I would have liked to been. If you are into like religion, maybe you might like this, but it wasn't an awful story by any means. It wasn't even the worst book that I read this month, but I kind of thought it would be like a little more intense and scary, and it wasn't. So maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it so much. The final 2 books I have to talk about is Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows, both by Sarah J. Maas, and obviously 5 out of 5 star reads for me. I enjoyed these so much, and reading Queen of Shadows for the 3rd time was so good because there were things that I forgot about that I was like introduced to again, and I was like, oh my gosh, why is this series so good? I can not even explain to you guys how much this series means to me. It is so good. It's like, this series is more to me than Harry Potter, so that says a lot. And I think that I'll just leave it at that. These books are amazing. Read them if you haven't. There you guys have it. That is my September wrap up. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys read in the month of September. And as always, if you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.